All right, welcome sixth graders to our social studies class today, our world history class. I have my son Wesley here. He's going to be helping to be one of my students. There's Wesley. All right, so first of all, class, we have been already learning about Egypt the last few days. We've been studying Egypt. We've looked at where Egypt is, and we've studied some different things about Egypt. But today, we are specifically going to be looking at these learning targets. We are going to answer these questions today. First, what are some achievements of ancient Egypt? What is hieroglyphics and what is papyrus? And how were they used in ancient Egypt? So first of all, let's talk about how we communicate. What are some ways that we communicate in our world today? Any ideas?
Texting.
Okay, we text, we send emails. So we use technology, we use our phones. Any other ideas of how we communicate?
Sending letters and talking.
Okay, we send letters and we talk. Those are ways that we communicate today. Well, we are also going to look at how the Egyptians communicated. I'm going to pass out this paper right here to everyone. And this is an example of, it's actually the hieroglyphics alphabet, and it's got hieroglyphs on it. And I wrote the word hieroglyphics right up here for everyone to see. I'm also going to pass out this crack the code. So I'm going to give everyone a few minutes. You can turn and work with a partner sitting next to you. And I want you to use the hieroglyphics alphabet to try to decipher the meaning of this code. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to look at it. And I want you to think for a few minutes, what do you notice about these pictures and this alphabet? What do you notice about how the Egyptians used hieroglyphics to communicate? So talk with your neighbor for a few minutes about what you notice about those hieroglyphics. Okay, so I'd let them talk for a few minutes, and then we come back together. I'd give them a few minutes to work on deciphering the code with their partner. All right, what are some things you guys notice about hieroglyphics? Okay, Wesley?
The pictures that represent letters.
That's right. There are pictures that represent letters. Okay? Anything else you notice about hieroglyphics?
The pictures are like animals and things.
Okay, you see some pictures of some animals and different things. All right, and who solved the code? Who deciphered the code using the hieroglyphics? Did you get that, Wesley?
Yes. It's desert, snake, tomb, and Nile.
Desert, snake, tomb, and Nile. Very good. All right, I want you to hold on to the hieroglyphics alphabet because we're going to be using that a little bit later. Now I'm going to show you a video, a short 5-minute video about Egypt, and it's going to have some things about some of the achievements of the Egyptian civilization. I want you to be watching and listening in this video for some other achievements of Egyptian civilization. I also want you to listen for the word hieroglyphics. And in your journals, you've got your journals in your desk, in your journals, jot down any unfamiliar words you hear in the video, and you can also write down any other achievements you see from ancient Egypt, and you can write down anything you hear and learn about hieroglyphics. Okay, so I would show the video now. It's about 5 minutes long, and the students would write in their journals those things. Okay, the video's over. I want you to spend 1 or 2 minutes talking to your neighbor. Let's do a think, pair, share. And I want you to, here's some sentence starters you can use to help you talk with your neighbor. Hieroglyphics were written on what? Hieroglyphics were used by the Egyptians to what? What was the purpose of them? What were they used for? That's okay. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to turn and talk with your neighbor about what you learned from the video. Okay, so after a few minutes, we come back together, and I might call on a few students to share what they said or what their neighbor said. Tell me what you heard from your neighbor, and we would talk about a few things that they learned from the video. All right, next we are going to read an article about hieroglyphics, and I have basically the same article, but one's a simpler version and one's more of an advanced version of this article, taken from the internet. It's got a couple of pages. So I might pass this article out according to the ability level of the students and the English level and reading level. And so as you're reading this article, I want you to follow this reading strategy. And it's called SQP2RS. So the first thing you're going to do is when you get the article, you're going to work with a partner, and I want you and your partner to survey the article. That means you quickly skim over it. Look and see, what is the title? Are there any bold print? Any vocabulary that stands out to you? Are there some headings or any pictures? So skim the material quickly and looking for what key concept you think you might learn in this article. Next, I want you to come up with a few questions that might be answered when you read this article. So I've got some Post-it notes, and I'll pass those out. Everybody can have, here are the Post-it notes. Everyone can have a Post-it note, and I want you to write down on the Post-it note 1 or 2 questions that you think might be answered from the article. And still before you read the article, I want you to come up with a few predictions. After skimming it, what are some predictions you think that you can make based on what you're going to learn in this article? So after the SQ and the P, you and your partner are ready to read the article together. You can take turns reading it aloud to each other. You can read it silently. You guys can decide. And then I want you to respond. I want you to look back at your Post-it note over the questions that you wrote down and over the predictions and see if you can answer those questions based on what you just read. And I want you to look at your predictions. Were your predictions correct based on what you just read? And then at the end, you are going to make a summary. You're going to write a summary sentence in your journal. It could be something like, I learned that blank. And I want you and your partner to come up with a summary sentence describing a key concept or something that you learned based on this article. So I'm going to pass out the articles, I'm going to pass out the Post-it notes, and then at this time, I would go, here, shake it, let me check the time on the video, Wesley. At this time, I would go around and make sure I would be doing informal assessments, making sure the students were on track, checking for understanding. I'd be helping them go through these different steps, reminding them of what they're to do during each step in that reading strategy. So that would probably take maybe 20 minutes or so. Okay, so after we come back from that activity, I think I would have the students share some of their summaries and what they learned in the articles. All right, our next activity, here, let me stop it and then I'm going to start.